March is always an exciting time of year for college basketball, a sport that's been very exciting right here in New Jersey. Joining me now is our very own Bobby Santoro to talk about what's been going on. Bobby, great to see you again, and here we are in March already.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already March, and thank you for having me back on. Excited to talk some basketball.
Awesome. So things have been very exciting at Montclair State University, where the men's and women's basketball teams each captured their respective NJAC titles. Let's start with the women. The Red Hawks beat TCNJ 72-63. Talk about some of the highlights from that game.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, I mean, I watched it again, just today, just to kind of relive both of them. And I mean, I had keeping it down to, I mean, like you have on the women's team, you have it looks like Olivia Vero. She was like the key factor to it having 24 points on the game, but she also had a double double, so 24 points, 10 rebounds. But what really keyed them was, I mean, as a team kind of playing on the road for against TCNJ, was they got out to a 9-0 run just right at the start of the game. So that was the biggest thing for them, and just to be able to kind of control that first quarter. Now it was really a tale of two quarters for them too, because I mean you outscored them 20-10 in the first quarter, 21-15 in the third quarter. Now the second quarter they struggled a little bit, but they were able to kind of close it out there in the fourth, and hold off TCNJ. So it was unbelievable to see them do that, and kind of I think they played after the men, so it was actually awesome to see them complete like the sweep of men's and women's in the NJAC.
Well, as you just said, shortly before the women captured their title, the men pulled off their NJAC championship victory against Ramapo, 91-85 in overtime. This is their first conference title since 2003, before a lot of the players were even born yet. This was an exciting one.
It was, and you saying before people are born in 2003, I cringe thinking that. But no, this was unbelievable. I mean, it had everything that you wanted in a final game, in a championship game. They kind of at first Montclair went down by a lot. They were able to hit some big threes. I know it was Jake Morales was the one really to come back and kind of hit those threes. He ended the game, if I'm looking here, 28 points, 7 rebounds, and he shot 6 of 12 from three. So that was big time for him. But Mike Jackson was the huge one. Morales scored the most, but Mike Jackson right behind him with 25. But he was hit. There was a big play where I think it was with 42 seconds left, was able to hit a layup to tie the game, and then eventually it went into overtime, and also helped them pull away because Morales had missed a three, but Jackson was able to get the rebound and put it back in to give them a 2-possession advantage with about a minute and a half left in overtime. So that was a lead they didn't relinquish. So it's awesome to see, big players step up in big spots, and just watching them and watching that game. I mean, I was getting fired up, seeing everyone just, kind of getting hyped up against, and there were Ramapo fans there too. So it was you love that kind of attitude in the game, and it didn't disappoint.
Well, let's talk about our alma mater, Rutgers, who recently took on Michigan, ranked 15th. Now, Rutgers is up 82-81 with 3 seconds left on the clock. Michigan hits a three-pointer with no time left, the stuff movie scripts are made of. This is a win that would have put Rutgers above 500, and if you're a Rutgers fan, there's no better word to sum this up than heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, but for Michigan fans, it's like it's something that movies are made of. For me, it's nightmare fuel. But but yeah, I mean, it was Rutgers played so well that game too. I mean, you had both Harper and Bailey playing well. They're contributing factors around them. All the players around them too playing well. So I know Martini, he was a big guy in there too to help them with it. But the thing with Rutgers is what I feel is going to hurt them is obviously you're going to have Bailey and Dylan Harper go into the draft and go to the NBA. This team with the two of them, if they would never do this, but if they were to hang around for another year or two, they'd be able to build a team worth that could maybe go deep into the NCAA tournament. Right now, I think I believe one of the team rankings has them as only a 0.4% to actually make the March Madness bracket. But I mean, they could still, who knows? They could still run the table in the Big Ten tournament. We'll see. And I mean, I wouldn't put it past them because they have two of the best players in the country. But yeah, it was definitely painful against Michigan because you saw it that they can hang with them and they can beat them. It's just a matter of closing out the game and not. I mean, nothing they could do on that three. I mean, it was a heck of a shot, but it was painful.
No, it was painful. But what you said before leads me to my next question. As we get closer to the fun part of the year in college basketball, what's next for some of these teams from around the state?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the ones is I saw Drew actually made their first is making the D3 NCAA bracket for the first time ever. So that's cool. That's cool to see. And they'll obviously we'll keep an eye on them as they attack that and see if they can make a run in there. I mean, you're looking at looking at all the other teams around the state. Obviously we've always I feel like every year New Jersey has that one team that can kind of get in. Like you saw St. Peter's a few years ago. I mean, Seton Hall got robbed last year, as we all know. But there was St. Peter's, there was Fairleigh Dickinson a couple of years ago too. So right now, I mean, look, it's not look like I mean, from what I'm seeing now, you never know what can happen between now and I know there's not much time, but something could happen where maybe one of these teams, Seton Hall, any of them kind of squeak in. It's been a little bit of an off year for New Jersey basketball when it comes to making the tournament. And that doesn't mean that there's still been good years. We've had a lot of stories. We've had great players. It's just it seems like this year if anyone's going to make it from the state, they're going to have to kind of make their way in and maybe be one of those last four in to kind of make it in and maybe make a run.
Now, the Red Bulls had their season opener on Saturday. We had Noah Ayla on to preview that game, the defender for that team. How did it go against Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, I mean, it's always great. Now, it's hard for me to, not say Red Bull Arena and say Sports Illustrated Arena now.
Well,
But
we do that. We do that with the Rec now too. With what is it, Jersey Mike's Arena?
yeah, and I always say I'm like I can't not call it the rack. So
Yeah.
I mean, with the it was incredible. It's incredible to see the fans there. I mean, not many years, well, 10 years ago now, sort of. I interned for the Red Bulls too. The crowd there is always unbelievable. I mean, it's a great arena and just amazing to have soccer at. So I mean, look, the way that they're going to start their season. They could always, they're always a factor. They can always make a run. The MLS has really just grown in general, so it's cool to see. And to the, I mean, even my brother's a big NYC fan, but I always mess with him. I'm like, oh, I mean, I can't not root for the Red Bulls. So it looked like to have that home opener, to see all the fans there, just to be there for soccer in general, and to and it's the sign. It's a sign that summer's coming too. It's almost like how baseball is.
Yeah. And finally, Bobby, speaking of nice weather coming, the Mets and Yankees are full of stories this spring training. Yankees are dealing with some injuries. Mets prospect Blade Tidwell threw an immaculate inning. I thought that was sensational. How do you feel about both teams as we inch closer to opening day?
Well, I mean, I'll start with the Mets. I mean, you can't not feel good about them, even with the Frankie Montas injury. You're gonna. I feel great if I'm a Mets fan because they are just going to be a fun team to watch. Obviously, Juan Soto helps, and getting Pete Alonso back, it was huge for that lineup. And Lindor, you have everyone. You have so many people that can contribute, and they were a fun team to watch last year. And that's coming from a Yankee fan. So yeah, I feel very good about them. Now, the thing is, the NL East, the National League in general is just tough. So that's not to say, I mean, I still think they make the playoffs. Now, do I think they can win the division? Sure. Is there a world where they might not win the division because of the tough teams? Yeah, there is too. But that doesn't, I mean, as long as their pitching staff is good and lives up to it, they can beat anyone in a playoff series as long as they make it in. The Yankees, and maybe this is just me being a pessimistic Yankee fan, but I mean, look, the Giancarlo injury doesn't really bother me too much. It's actually the first time he's going to miss an opening day since he's been a Yankee, which is that I didn't even realize that. I thought he's been often hurt, but all you want out of him is you want him ready for the playoffs. So I don't know how long he'll be out. I don't think they play him in the cold weather when they come up here for April. So I think maybe we're looking at a May or June. The DJ LeMahieu one was a big one as well. So it depends on how they pivot with these. Obviously, pitching too. Luis Gil, had that MRI, and we don't know how it is. So Marcus Stroman is going to be a big factor now too, unless they trade for somebody or anything like that. But I'm definitely a little bit nervous as a Yankee fan. They could totally do it. They can make another run, but it's also, I mean, their ceiling could be as high as 90 plus wins, but they could also, barring injuries, it could be as low as maybe 85. So we don't know. We don't know what's going to go with, but at least it's good to see baseball back. That's all I'll say.
I can't wait for it. Bobby Santoro, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.